Sanz. I'm a product manager of Richmond, and I'm really glad to be here with you and with Mick, Quirke, and Marc from English Exams Lab to present you this product. I'm going to introduce Mick and Marc. Marc is the operations manager of Exams Lab, and Mick is the developer manager for English Exams Lab. Is the person the speaker today. So probably a lot of people, of the people who join us today know already Mick, but I'm going to introduce him briefly. He has been involved in ELT world in Spain for the last 30 years, firstly as English teachers, and then he worked in different publishing companies with different roles, and also really involved with education and publishing company in ELT. And now Richmond and English Exams Lab, we have a collaboration, and we are really glad to present you this product we have in common, Richmond English Exams Lab, to practice for the Cambridge exams. That's all. Over to you, Mick.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for that introduction, Maria. Yeah, I've been involved in ELT for 30 years. I won't name different publishing companies, just I suppose the most important reference is that I was involved with the Cambridge world, let's call it that, for 6 years in Iberia. So that's if you like, that's where I come from. And at the end of last year, I was given the opportunity to work with English Exams Lab, and I'm going to tell you a bit more about that in a minute, why I'm working for them and what the advantages are for you, from somebody who knows, if you like, the Cambridge world very well. But like any kind of ELT session, I'm afraid I'm going to start with a tiny and very short interactive exercise. So I'm going to put up a slide, and you confirm when you can see my first slide, please.
We see it.
You can see the first slide, okay?
Yes.
If we go into PowerPoint mode. Okay, and I need to just go back 1 second, and because I gave you the answers, that was a really good start, wasn't it? Before I start, what I'm going to do, and we'd like you to just answer quickly in the chat, what do you think the main advantages are of a digital online platform for preparation for Cambridge exams as opposed to print material? We'll just give you 30-40 seconds to answer, and if Maria and Marc can tell me the answers, and then we'll look to see if they correspond with the suggestions that I've got. Okay.
Individual study saves class time. Accessibility. It engages the students more.
Okay.
I'm supposed to write here? Yes, yes. It can't be recorded.
I can't see the chat, so I'm listening to what Maria said, but they're all good answers so far.
Easier. I'm not seeing anybody else writing. You don't see the chat probably. So yeah.
I can't see the chat.
No, but the rest of participants, they don't see the chat. So that's the reason I tell the responses. Okay. Expect different pieces.
Anything else? If not, we'll go on to my prepared answers. Yeah. Okay. So we look at the answers. Hello?
Yeah.
Let's look at the answers I've got down here. The first one I've got is our students' world. What do I mean by that? Now, I imagine you're teaching all age groups, but obviously the main growth in Cambridge exam preparation, certainly the last 15 years, has been amongst, if you like, the teenage world, so to speak. And what is the teenage world? Well, it's a digital world. So it makes a lot more sense for our teenagers to be practicing for Cambridge exams online than on paper, because that's the world that they relate to. The platform I'm going to show you can be used on all kinds of devices as well as computer. And it's logical. We're looking to increase the number of students who are taking computer-based exams. I mean, and why is that so important now, and why has it increased so much in the last year and a half? Well, obviously, there's a safety aspect to people taking computer-based exams rather than paper. We think about the pandemic, and God forbid that we will have to go back into another lockdown, but there's been a big growth of online and blended learning precisely for that reason. Precisely for that reason, that schools are looking for material that they can work with online. What do I mean by continuous improvement? Well, continuous improvement, if you work in printed publishing, which I have and we all have on this panel, when you have an issue with something you need to improve, I mean, even the most meticulously edited textbooks in the world, always little mistakes creep in, or there's always room for improvement that usually comes from suggestions from teachers or from pupils. With a platform, Marc's team are continuously able to incorporate suggestions that come from users, i.e. candidates and teachers. It saves time for you. You don't have to go and look for material, and I'm going to show you when we get into the platform in a minute how the self-correction part works. Again, that old excuse that I've left my book at home. I'm afraid, as we used to say in England, the dog ate my homework. Well, we can't do that anymore, because basically everything we do here is everything our students do is recorded on the platform. Value for money, what we're talking about, basically compared to print alternatives, represents a very economical option. And safety, yeah, I mean, that's paramount right now. Do we want to be handling paper and books right now with you know, the pandemic still? It's a very critical stage. So I'm going to come back and summarize at the end, but what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to stop sharing for 1 second, and I'm going to go into the platform. I'm going to go into our exam platform. Just 1 second. I'll share that. Can you confirm for me when you're seeing, please, our English exams, Richmond English Exams Lab interface?
We're seeing it now.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So this is the Richmond English Exams Lab homepage. First thing to point out, as you can see, we cover all exams, all the way up from young learners, right up to C2 proficiency. There are more than 4,000 interactive activities on the site, and I'm going to show you what they are. And I'm going to look at the site in the way that it was conceived. That is to say, from the point of view of the students, from the point of view of the teacher, and we'll finish off with a little special feature which the school owners and school heads of studies and school directors will be particularly interested on as well. So, as I say, we're imagining we're a student first. So I'll go into a specific exam level. I'm going to go into Cambridge English B2 first. First thing to note, we've got 3 important elements in terms of interactive work for our students. We've got the mock exam, which I'll explain in a second. We've got the interactive exercises, which represents intensive paper-by-paper practice. And we've got a section called exam support, which I'll show you after I've shown you the first 2. If we see the mock exam, we can see, in fact, that we've already begun that exam. That's why a minute has gone on the clock, so to speak. So I'm going to go in. We'll see when we started. I'm going to show you the mock exam. First thing I should say, and I'll repeat it 2 or 3 times during the session, within the platform, we have 4,000 interactive activities. They include 20 mock exams per level, 20 mock exams per Cambridge level. If we look at the screen here, we can see that we have the 4 papers that we would do in the Cambridge exam. Exactly as we'd see them on the day itself. We've got the time required, or the maximum time, if you like, for each paper. We can see how many parts there are, and we can see how many questions there are. So I'm going to go into reading use of English, for example. Now, the first thing you'll see, as we began this earlier, we've got 35 minutes. So the first thing we can see is that we've actually got a timer working, so we know how much time we're doing it under real exam conditions. We have the instructions as you would find them on the exam itself. I'm not going to answer the questions because obviously we're not going to have time to do all that. And secondly, I may get one or two wrong, and that would be a bit embarrassing. And you say, this guy's not B2. So I'm not going to answer the questions. But when we finish, for example, this section, we've got the option of here, finish exam. What happens when we finish a mock exam, or later when we finish interactive exercises and submit them? They are then sent, they're recorded in the platform, and they're sent to my teacher now. And this is very important. For reading use of English and for listening, it's self-corrected, and I'll show you that in more detail when we go paper by paper. So the reading use of English and listening parts are self-corrected. As I mentioned to you earlier, I'm going against the clock, but if I don't have time to finish, I can come down here and I can pause this mock exam and I can continue later. Listening would work, if you like, in a similar way. I've got the listening here.
You'll hear people talking.
I'll go through answering the questions.
Situations.
Go through answering the
For each
questions.
recording,
when I
you
finish,
are given a set of questions which correspond to each situation. For each question,
and when I finish that, do the same thing. Finish exercise, finish exam, recorded in the platform, sent to my teacher. Okay. Now then, in order to see the papers in more detail and to look at the writing and speaking parts that you as a teacher will have to correct, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into the next section, so to speak, which is the interactive exercises section. So let's imagine that at the beginning of term, I have 20 mock exams. Now, I'll probably do most of the mock exams towards the end of the school year, when our students are close to the big day, when they need to do the exam. But another option is that I give them a mock exam at the beginning of the term, and in terms of where my students are at, I can then say, well, I think in the interactive exercises part, which you can practice over the whole year, I think you need to practice more on one paper or the other. So here, what we've got is paper by paper intensive practice, but if you like, at the student's own rhythm. So let's go into reading use of English. You can see that obviously this is a demo. 37 exercises have been attempted, and we can see how many we've got left. So I've done about 26% of the possible interactive exercises here. I can see that, again, I've got basically 20 options for each single part that I can do, but I'm seeing the exam as I would in a real exam. I'm going to go into part 5, for example, and go into an exercise. We have, first off, not just the instructions as you would find in the exam, but actually the instructions on how to work the platform and how it would work in this case. If I want to do it as a real exam, I can start the timer here, and I can do it as though it's a real exam. Now then, an important point, I stressed at the beginning that this is an online platform, and the advantages of online over print, particularly right now, are very clear. However, should you wish to sit your students together and you don't have access to computers for all those students, obviously you have the option of printing the exercises out, should you wish. Again, I'm going to answer these questions randomly, and so please don't call me out when you see that I get one or two wrong. I'm going to answer them randomly. And when I finish, you'll see that I got this option of checking my answers. So I'm going to check my answers, and I'll see that I haven't done too badly. I haven't done very well. I've got 1 out of 6. I've got 1 out of 6 here. I've checked the answers. It shows me where I got ones wrong, and the only one that I got right. But I think it would be good for me to see what the correct answers were. So the check button has become show correct answers button. So go in here and I can see my incorrect answers and the answer that I should have given. But not only that, I'm going to be told why I went wrong. So if I click on the Y button, it will show me here from the reading on the left where I should have concentrated, where I should have basically looked in order to get the right answer on the right here. So my answers are automatically corrected. I can see the right answers, and in this part of the reading use of English, I can also see where I went wrong. Listening would work in a similar way. I'm not going to play the listening, but we go through answer and I can see my score when I check the correct answers here. Okay. I've got 25%, not too bad. But what about the productive skills? What about writing and speaking? Okay, I'll go into the writing paper. Again, what I mentioned to you before, I can do it as a real exam. If I want to start the timer, I can print it out. And I've got the instructions here, both how we'll do the exam and how it works in this case. Okay, so typical exam question. I've got to write an essay. It appears in front of the student exactly as it would on a computer-based writing paper. So I'm going to start to do my essay. And you can see I've got a word counter here, which shows me, how many words I've done and how many I need to get to the minimum number of words required. When I'm happy with my answer, I save it and I send it to my teacher. Okay. When we come to the part that teachers will principally use, I'll show you what the teacher actually receives, how they mark it, and how they feed back to their pupils. So that's how writing works. If I go into speaking, what we do here, essentially, we're going to record the answers. So I will basically go in here, record my answer. I can stop it. I can play it back. This, as I say, this is practice. It's not a simulation, so to speak. So I can practice. I can go back. I can listen to it. When I'm happy with my answer, again, I save it and I send it to my teacher. So just to recapitulate on these first two interactive elements, mock exams, 20 per level, interactive exercise, intensive practice of the different papers, reading, use of English and listening, self-corrected, writing and speaking, go to my teacher. Okay, so I've looked at two elements, two very important elements for students, mock exams and interactive exercises, but there is another element, and I think this is important to stress if we're talking about, let's say, I want to encourage learner autonomy, because when we come to the teacher's part, we'll see that even the parts which have been self-corrected, the teacher still has access to and can give feedback to. But imagine we want our students to work autonomously. So we're going to go, we've identified at the beginning of term, when we've done some of those mock exams, that they have difficulties in certain areas. So we'll go to the exam support section for B2, whole series of documents, vocab, grammar, etc. But also I can see the structure of the exam, should I wish. I can get tips, and I know from teaching and working in publishers in Spain for quite a long time that, for example, writing can be quite a challenge. It seems quite normal that most of our students don't have a lot of practice writing in their own language. So I've got a step-to-step guide about how I organize my essay here, for example. I've got a whole series of tips that I can do. One of the reasons I'm mentioning this is that Cambridge exams obviously are the most important and commonly used validation, it's the most validation basically assessment board in the world. However, it's not just about being at a B2 or a C1 level. I've got to demonstrate it, and to demonstrate it, there is a technique to the exam. So the exam method part and the writing tips, amongst a whole series of other things here, will help them with that. What I think is also interesting is with the grammar section, If again your student is having a problem with the passive, here you've got the theoretical explanation of how the passive should work, but they can also, these exercises are self-corrected, basically, but they don't go to teach because the student is working autonomously. What I also find is very useful, given that about 10% of Cambridge candidates in the world are from Spain. If we add on to that other Spanish-speaking countries, a very important percentage of Cambridge candidates first language is Spanish, and that can lead to, that allows us to look at what the most common mistakes are. So let's just go into the false friends section, which you'll all be familiar with. And what happens to those of us who've been teaching for a long time here, or been living here for a long time, and happens to native and non-native teachers, that we sometimes forget, because we're so used to hearing Spanglish, that we actually sometimes forget what the real, what the real expression is, what the real word is. So this section is to work specifically on those false friends, because we as teachers are aware of them, but we may sometimes forget to correct them. In a Cambridge exam, they would lose marks for that. So that's why the exam support section and the common mistakes part in this context is very, very important. We've looked at the principal parts of the platform that students will use. We're going to go and look now at what you as teachers will principally see. And what I've told you a couple of times, but I'll probably say it 3 or 4 times, is that when we complete an exercise, those exercises are recorded in the platform. They can be seen by the school administrator and they can be seen by the teacher to whom those students have been assigned. So I'm going to go and look at what students have done. My exercise is done. The student, what I'm going to show you now, the student can see that for themselves. As a teacher, you will see all the students who've been assigned to you in the platform. As a school administrator, you'll see all the students in your school. So I'm going to go into B2 first for schools this time. And we'll see that we've got the 4 sections here. I mentioned to you earlier, and I showed you, that reading, use of English are self-corrected. What I can see, however, even though I don't need to correct here because it's already been done for me as a teacher, I can see the exercises that they've attempted. I can see when, and I can see the marks that they got. So that'll allow me, if I go into an exercise where they've got 1 or 2 wrong, I'll go in and I can see their right and their wrong answers. I can see it's automatically been marked, so I don't need to do that. And of course, I can see I've got the opportunity to feedback, and this may well have been the type of comment that I would have got when I was studying. Please concentrate harder. Yeah, and as you can see, no red pens like in our day, but the teacher, they can still write in bolder type should they wish. They can put things in bold, they can put it in colour, etc. So reading, use of English and listening are self-corrected, but I can see what they've done, when they've done it, and I can still see where they went wrong, and I can still feed back to them. But obviously what you're interested to see now, I'm sure, is what happens with writing and speaking. So I'll go into the writing exercises that the student has submitted. These ones have already been corrected by the teacher, but if I go into one in red that hasn't been corrected, this is what the student sent to me. Okay, not a very long essay in this case. This is what the student sent to me. Now, even though you have to evaluate and give a mark for this, we don't leave you completely on your own. We remind you here on the right what the official Cambridge marking scheme for writing is. So you go through the 4 elements that you need to evaluate and give a mark for, and you give your mark here. Give feedback if that's appropriate. You could even maybe cut and paste part of the student's written work, and then write your comments underneath, probably in bold type and in I don't know. You'd maybe do it in red, something like that. If we turn that to red, what would have happened? Yeah, when I've finished my feedback and my marking, I submit, and that goes back to my students. So that's how Writing is corrected. Speaking, if you recall, again, the same here, the ones I've corrected, the ones I've still to correct. Speaking, if you recall, the students recorded their answer. So I can listen to the answer here, and then I can go across and give my look at the marking and feedback, or I can download it for later. But remember, I don't have to mark, I do have to mark speaking, but I've got the 5 elements that I must evaluate and give a mark to. So I'm helped in that sense. And I've got the chance here to feedback and submit. So that's how, as a teacher, we receive the students' work. We don't have to correct reading, listening, English and listening, but we can give feedback. We do have to correct writing and speaking, and we'll see. I've just shown you how it's received. In terms of speaking, it's received, they send us the audio file, and that's how that's done. So the students will see their work and their marks when you send them back to them, and a teacher will see them for all their students. But it's also interesting to see, how does that look in statistical terms? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into B2 first. I'm going to my exercise stats, and I'm going to B2 first for schools again. First thing, and this is very important, I've got the latest global exam mark. So what, in a sense, I'm doing here, I'm seeing how ready this student is to taking the B2 exam. And the global mark here is based on the last exercise that they've done in every part of the exam. On the right, I can see what grade this would correspond to, B2, and how that's mapped, obviously, against the Common European Framework of Reference. I can see how many exercises this student has attempted, just 50%. And as you can see here, it says, one exercise done multiple times counts as one exercise. That is to say that students can repeat the same exercise. The answer that will count towards their mark and towards this final global mark here will always be the last attempt. So that's how many I've done, and this is how well I've done. I haven't done too well. I've only got 30% right. Yeah. So let's see what's happening with these students. Well, they look quite strong on use of English, writing not too bad, listening okay, speaking okay. So let's look at reading, which seems to be the weakest part. And if I go down here, I can see that I can look at how many reading exercises they've attempted and how many they've still to do. I can also see, and it's thinking in real time, so that's why it's just taking a second to come up. I can see that I've got a quarter of the answers right. And again, I need to get to the bottom of this issue, because I've got a problem with the students reading. So I'm going to see which parts they're having difficulty with. Right, okay. So I'll go into part 5. Again, the same stats in terms of how many they've tried and what mark they've got. But not only that, those attempts are then translated into a graph. So I can see when they went in and what mark they got on that particular day. Now, obviously, this is a demo for these purposes, so you can see fluctuations and ebbs and flows. It works like this. When your students are working with English exams, obviously their curve will go up like this, of course. So just to remind you, the student will see their own marks and their own stats. You'll see that for your whole class. And as a teacher, one of the other areas that you look at particularly is the section called My Classrooms. I've just got 3 classrooms created here, and I'm going to show you, and this is very, very important. As teachers, you're in complete control of what your students see and what your students do, okay? So the first thing that you can do, if you wish, you can block the access, for example, to the mock exams. So maybe I decide I don't want them to do any mock exams until the end of term or until January, and I block them. Or I might decide I want them to do one, and as I say, from that, it will work as a kind of placement or diagnosis test, a placement test or a diagnosis, and from there I can see where they need to concentrate more efforts. But then I can block the mock exams, so I'm in complete control. I can block all the exercises. Now, this is very important. When you use a license for Richmond English Exams Lab, that license will give you access to all exam levels. But you as a teacher will go in before that and restrict the access to the level that you're teaching, which in this case, let's say C1 Advanced. Not only that, when they're in there, you can decide what they do when they do it. So I think in the first week of the term, we're just going to do writing. Poor kids, eh? We're just going to do writing the first week. And within writing, we're just going to do part 1. And within part 1, I only want them to do the first 5 exercises. So essentially, as a teacher, I'm in control of what they see when they see it. Not only that, if I want, I can block the access to the correct answers. Not that I'm looking for more work for myself in terms of correcting reading, use of English and listening, but maybe we want all the students to work on exercises and then we're going to correct them in class, for example. So as a teacher, I'm in complete control. Other features for the teacher, very important. Here I've got 3 students. And as you can see, within these 3 students, I can see the exercises that they completed. And I would see the ones here that are actually pending to be completed. I can see the stats. I can see the mock exams they've done. I can see how many times they've logged in. And this is important, again, so I can see how hard students are working. I can see how many times they've actually been into the platform. Account settings, I can access their account if they forget their password. Actually, we don't want you to give us students real emails when they register. We're not interested. We're not going to communicate with students. So you can actually create an email that's not real, as long as the administrator's email or the teacher's email is real. And you would go in and reset the account if there's any problem with that. Not only that, if you want to do an individual configuration for your students, that's also what you can do here. You can add and remove students and teachers. That will be an administrative function. I can compare students within the group. I can see who's working harder and who's working not as hard. In this case, student 3. I can look at the later results, which we saw earlier, and compare them. And I can put all that in an Excel sheet as well, basically. So they are, if you like, the main features that users, there are many more, we could spend a lot more time here, there are many more features, but they're the ones that principally as a teacher that you're going to use. And just to finish off, one thing that school directors and school owners will really like is the My School page, which what I've done here is we can actually customize it for your school. So I've invented a subdomain here, which would be, if you like, a Richmond school in this case. We've given them a logo, which again, you would choose your logo, and we've selected a background for the Richmond school. As you can see, they're in the pandemic, but they're having a great time here, which is obviously what would happen in a Richmond school. But what I can do with this, that means that I can actually personalize this platform, sorry, for my my students. So I'll just go and copy this, if that will copy for me. So if I log out of the platform, I give my students that specific address, I log in, I've got the background that I selected, and when I go into the platform, it's as though it was my school's personalised version of the Richmond English Exams Lab platform. So again, that's great for your school's corporate identity, always to be present on the platform. So if it's a student whose parents are maybe looking over their shoulder to watch, and the parents say, oh, that's great. Not only is my school using this platform, they've got their own version of it, almost to speak. So that's something that your school directors, I don't know if you have school directors and school owners on the call, that's something they'll particularly like. So they are the main features of the platform. I'm going to just do a tiny summary and then we'll go on to questions. I'll stop sharing for just a minute. But I will just go back into my I'll just go back into my PowerPoint for one section, if I may. And again, it's jumped to the end, which is always what happens when you don't want that to happen. And it's gonna be, so these were the if you like, the main advantages of online versus print. These are the main advantages about specifically of the Richmond English Exams Lab platform. We cover all levels of Covering Your Brain framework. As you saw, I am not a digital native. I think you saw that once at times, a bit of torpeza by me, but I can use it. So our kids who grew up in this world, they've got no problems. Over 4,000 interactive activities, self-correction for reading, use of English and listening, 20 mock exams per level. Compares very favourably in terms of compared with anything that's offered in print terms for practice exams. We saw the common mistakes for Spanish speakers. You correct the writing and speaking bits, but you track and you can feedback on everything. You can see the progress stats. The platform can be customized for your school, and of course, it's value for money for candidates and for family.
One question is sent 2 or 3 times about how can I create a user for a platform?Maybe you can share the main platform, the richmondexamslab.com, and also show how the school can get a demo really easily. I don't know if Marc or Mick can share it and show this little part, because there are people interested in getting a demo or a created user.
So do you want to answer, Marc?
Yeah, sure. Well, hello everybody, I'm Marc, nice to meet you first of all, and I'm gonna share my screen now. I'm gonna show you what do you have to do in order to create an account for Richmond English Exams Lab. Okay, so it is really simple actually. Well, let me move around. Okay, you just have to go to richmond.englishexamslab.com, and in order to test the product, you just have to fill up the form that appears in here on the right hand side. So in here you would just type your school name, then the email, and then a password, and then you would have to click on the create account button, and then everything would have been set up for your account. And once the account created, what you would see the platform that Mick just showed you. And once in here, you would have as a free version of the product, you would have the first exercise of each one of the different sections of each one of the different levels available. So you would be able to see quite a lot of exercises regarding each one of the levels. And then regarding all the functionalities, the teacher functionalities and the school functionalities, all of them would be available for free. So you would be able to see the students' progress, to see students' statistics as well, to correct exercises, etc., etc. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to write down the URL in order for you to sign up. Okay, I'm just going to post it here on the chat. And there you go, you have it here.
Yeah, thank you, Marc. It's really nice, the demo, because you are for free, you are allowed to go into around 50 or 60 exercises. So it's quite a lot, and you have a complete view of what it's about. Well, it's the same thing that Mick already showed us, but you have the opportunity to try by yourself. It's also nice in that platform, in the Richmond Learning Science platform, there are video tutorials. I don't know if you can show the screen, Marc.
Yeah,
the video
sure.
tutorials are really nice because they give you the hint if you want to create a student account, a teacher account, if you want to allow all the different things you want to do in the platform, with tutorials of 1 or 2 minutes. So it's quite easy to follow.
Yeah, just, well, you are seeing my screen again. So in here, we have the video tutorial section. And in here, what we can see, well, we have it sorted by school functionalities videos, teacher functionalities videos, and student functionalities videos. And you have in here, so plenty of different videos of how to get started on the platform. And moreover, we also have this section which says how it works. And in here, what we're going to find is a little walkthrough of how to set up an account and the different first steps to take as a school administrators in order to make everything ready for our students and teachers.
Okay, thank you, Marc. So we also answer to those questions. They ask if they should pay the access. It is a paid product for the students, but we offer a free access for teachers. So every 10 users, every 10 students, you will have a free access for you to be able to teach with or to use the platform for your classes.
Yeah, I can see a question of Izaskun Archeche, okay, who says one of the problems with the self-correct exercises is that in the rewriting, students don't get 1 mark out of the possible 2. Okay, I guess you are talking about the reading use of English part 4 exercises, which might be marked as 1 point or 2 points. Well, let me know if I'm wrong, but what I can say you about this type of exercises that we're working, and on the upcoming September, we're gonna have the 2 point, well, either 2 point or 1 point marking system correctly available on the platform.
Okay, nice. I already answered one question. It was about the correcting the writing. Ana Isabel said it should allow copy and paste, edit the writing, or at least possibility to attach a document, and it allows that already.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I thought I'd shown that. Obviously, not very clearly.
Yeah, well, sometimes people is writing on the chat box while you are showing something, and maybe they mix that, but it's because it's already recorded, so you will have the opportunity to review that part, but it's possible to do it. And also there is a question where it says that if the students can listen in the speaking part, if the students can listen to the questions instead of reading them. I don't know if you have an answer for that.
Yeah, sure. We're actually working on this feature, and it will be available on the upcoming months, and for sure it's going to be available on the next year course starting on September.
Great, thanks. There's a person who joined out late and is talking about the cost. No, we didn't talk about the cost of the license, because it depends on the duration. It depends on the amount of licenses you buy as schools. So the best thing to do is to ask for your rep to pass by, and they will offer you the best possible offer for your needs and your school.
Right, so can I just ask a question similar to that? What we can tell you is how long the licenses last for, which somebody said. They can be 3 months, for example, if you were thinking right now of students who are going to do the exam in June or even July. It could be 6 months, there could be 9 months, which is perfect from October through, and be 12 months. But as Maria says, obviously, in terms of price, that's down to you when you speak to your local Richmond rep. Sorry, Maria, I interrupted you.
No. It's great. It's great. Nice.
Because can I answer one more? One other just came. Somebody asked if the demos for all levels. Yes, the platform by default, when you go in, you get access to all levels. So the demo's the same. You create the account as Marc showed. You go in, you can see everything, all levels, that is to say, and you can do the first exercise of every single part. Okay, sorry.
They also say, can the students get enrolled there? Yes, as long as the institution has a demo open, you can already with that demo, with that account, buy some licenses, and then your students, they will be just in the demo you open. So it's as simple as that.
Can I answer Douglas as well about keeping the work? Yeah, the work, a student, a license has a period of 3, 6, 9, 12 months. But once that account's been created, that work, if the student ever goes back in with a new license, that's always on the platform. And the administrator of that school will always be able to go back and see work that was done, even if that license isn't in use. Because I think that was kind of related to Douglas' questions about the old books. Yeah, you can go back. Yeah.
Annie is also asking, can more than one teacher see the work of the same student? Yes, it is possible, as far as, well, actually, you have to create classrooms, and within each one of the classrooms, you can put as many students as you want and as many teachers as you want. So if you put 2-3 teachers in that classroom, all of the teachers on the classroom are going to be able to see the exercises done by each one of the students on the classroom.
Let's see.
Okay, I cannot see any more questions.
Somebody asked, does it work on all platforms and all devices? Yes, obviously, in terms of all devices, for writing, it's better to use a laptop or a tablet, obviously, but it does work on all devices and it works on all operating systems. Yeah.
And yeah, somebody is also asking about the levels.
Which question is that, sorry?
About the levels, yeah, that's cover all the levels of the common framework.
By default, you enter into all levels. Your teacher or your administrator restricts the students' access to the levels that they're studying. You could even have, I imagine you won't have it in private language schools as much, but you could have students in the same classroom who are preparing different levels of a Cambridge exam. That's not a problem either.
Yeah, but, sorry, Meredith said that if the demo is for all the levels, yeah, is every first exercise for each level. So in the demo, you can have a look, an overview of all the levels. I will also, I don't think there is much more.
Yeah, there's one last question,
yeah.
From Douglas as well, who's saying if the teacher is able to get some suggestions regarding the writing structure on the platform once a student has submitted a writing. Yeah, you are allowed as a teacher to go into the exam support section, and in there we have some writing tips regarding, for example, so essay writing best practices, receipts writing best practices, etc., etc. So you can look it up in there, and so you can get clues of what the student should have written.
Lori Nedermatt is also asking about the platform. Yeah, our platform is Richmond English Exams Lab, which is the platform we are promoted together, Richmond and English Exams Lab. So to have all the combinations of our reps, our attention, the teacher, the training, everything together with the Exams Lab, you have to go to Richmond English Exams Lab. And I just give you our contact in case you've got more questions or you need a rep to pass by. Got it over here, richmondelt.s /contact.
Yeah, well, people are talking about the robot feature.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna answer that question. This obviously is gonna take time because it's something related to what in the technological world is called artificial intelligence. We are starting to take a look into it, so the platform would be able to automatically correct writings and speakings, but obviously this is going to take quite a lot of time. We are starting to look into it, as I said, so I'm not able to say whenever that would be possible on the platform, but we're going to explore this possibility on the platform.
I've seen a question that was there earlier, which we haven't answered, and I can't see the name of the person who it's from. Do you wish to continue? Yeah, if you can, when you got, do you wish to continue? If you don't want, if you want to finish, you actually press continue, which means you go on to finish. If you don't want to submit at that point, you press cancel. Yeah, that was a question that was earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a question from Laurie. I think this is the thing to do. Is if you could send an email to Maria or someone in Richmond, and we'll take a look into to move the issue
from one platform
you're having at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. Somebody asked about the the talk, it has been recorded, so the marketing department probably will send it to you. If not, just contact us and ask for it in case you need it. So I will also give you the Step Up to Date link. Here it is, and I think it's all by now. Thank you, everybody, to be here. Nice to see you, Mick and Marc, and thank you, all of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.
See you soon.
Have a nice weekend, everybody. Those who've got San Jose, in Valencia, Madrid, have a nice long weekend. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.